The 11-minute walking revelation. In 2023, researchers tracked 78,500 people across 7 years and published their findings in the British Journal of Sports Medicine. 11 minutes of walking per day was enough to reduce the risk of early death by 25%, not 30 minutes, not 10,000 steps, 11 minutes. But buried inside that study was something the headlines missed. The benefits were not distributed equally. People covering the same distance, the same frequency, the same duration, they didn't all get the same results. When researchers looked at why, the answer kept pointing to one variable: how they were walking. I want to be straight with you from the start. Everything in this video comes from published peer-reviewed research studies. You can verify yourself. I'll give references as we go, not to impress you, because your health decisions deserve real evidence, not someone's authority alone. Today's 7 walking mistakes people over 50 commonly make, what the science says, how strong the evidence is, and what to do differently. Some backed by decades of strong research, some by solid but more limited evidence. I'll tell you which is which. Stay until mistake number 7. It's where the newest research directly contradicts what most people have been told, and the correction is simpler than you'd expect. The anatomy of aging and movement. Before the mistakes, 90 seconds of context, because understanding what's actually changing in your body after 50 makes everything that follows land differently. Muscle mass declines. A 2019 paper in Age and Aging put the rate at 1 to 2% per year after 50. Over a decade, up to 20% gone. Muscle stabilizes joints, regulates blood sugar, holds posture. The part most content leaves out: sarcopenia is not inevitable. Regular walking significantly slows the process. Joint cartilage becomes more vulnerable. Cartilage has no blood supply. It gets nutrition through movement via synovial fluid compression and release. One honest clarification: osteoarthritis has multiple causes: body weight, genetics, prior injuries, occupation. Walking mechanics is one factor, not the whole story. Metabolism shifts, but less than you think. A 2021 study in Science by Ponser and colleagues tracked energy expenditure across 6,400 people. Metabolic rate stays remarkably stable from age 20 to 60, then declines at roughly 0.7% per year. Your metabolism at 55 is more similar to your metabolism at 35 than most content implies. What changes more is activity level, and that's within your control. Cardiovascular efficiency gradually decreases. Maximum heart rate declines. Arterial walls lose some elasticity. Tanaka and Seals documented this in the Journal of Physiology in 2008, but also showed that people who maintained regular aerobic activity had dramatically less decline than sedentary peers the same age. The gap from consistent walking was larger than the gap from aging itself. Walking addresses all 4 systems simultaneously. The question is whether you're walking in a way that actually delivers those benefits. The danger of the cold start. Mistake 1. Starting too fast. You step outside and just go. Full pace immediately. Feels natural. The problem is what's happening inside your body in those first few minutes. At rest, muscles are below optimal temperature. Joints haven't redistributed synovial fluid evenly. Cardiovascular system is in low demand mode. Push all 3 into full output at once and something absorbs the mismatch. A 1988 study by Safran and colleagues in the American Journal of Sports Medicine found pre-warm muscle tissue had significantly higher tensile strength than cold muscle, more elastic, more compliant, better able to handle load. Gradual movement also reduces synovial fluid viscosity and distributes it more evenly across cartilage surfaces. Start fast and your cartilage runs without full lubrication for the opening minutes of every walk. Honest limit warm-up research is strongest for acute injury prevention. Direct evidence linking skipped warm-ups to long-term joint damage is more limited. A slow start simply costs nothing. The fix: first 3 to 5 minutes genuinely easy pace. Let your body shift gears, then increase. 0 additional time. The head down walking hazards. Mistake 2. Walking with your head down. Before I tell you this is a problem, I want to acknowledge something most content ignores. Most people look down because they're afraid of falling. That's not carelessness, that's a rational protective response, especially if you've had a fall or watched someone you care about go through one. So let's talk about what the research actually shows, with honest limits included. A 2014 paper by Kenneth Hansraj in Surgical Technology International measured cervical spine loads at different head angles. Neutral position, roughly 10 to 12 pounds the actual weight of your head. At 15 degrees of forward tilt, approximately 27 pounds. At 45 degrees, nearly 49 pounds. Important transparency. This study measured static positions, not dynamic walking. Loads during actual movement will differ from static measurements. The biomechanical principle is valid. The exact numbers shouldn't be applied directly to walking. That distinction matters when evaluating any content that cites this study. What we can say with more confidence. Chronically flexed neck posture during extended walking increases muscular load on the cervical and upper thoracic region. Lord and colleagues in their 2007 comprehensive work on fall prevention documented that forward gaze rather than downward gaze provides better visual flow information to the brain's balance centers, which support steadier walking. This is especially relevant after 50, as the balance system gradually loses some precision. The balanced fix. Aim your gaze 10 to 15 feet ahead rather than directly at your feet. This keeps your head closer to neutral, while your peripheral vision still covers the ground immediately in front of you. On uneven terrain, look down as needed. Your safety always outranks any posture rule. The goal is eliminating the habitual downward gaze on safe flat surfaces where it serves no protective function. The worn-out shoe trap. Mistake. 3. The wrong shoes and not knowing when to replace them. Most shoe content oversimplifies this. Here's what we actually know, what's still debated, and what's practical. What's confirmed: fat pads on the soles of your feet, thin with age quantified directly by Waring and colleagues in Gait and Posture 2013. These pads are your natural shock absorbers. As they thin, each footfall delivers more impact force up the chain, ankle, knee, hip, lumbar spine, unless your footwear compensates. Also confirm midsole cushioning loses shock-absorbing properties well before the outer sole shows visible wear. Cook and colleagues in the Physician and Sports Medicine established that midsole compression begins affecting impact absorption after approximately 500 to 700 kilometers of use. Walk 5 kilometers daily, 5 days a week, and you're past that threshold in under a year. What's still debated? The barefoot shoe question. Some recent research supports minimal footwear for younger healthy adults who transition gradually. For adults over 50 particularly, anyone with existing foot structure, changes, plantar fasciitis, or lower limb joint issues, podiatric consensus still favors structured support as the safer default. Not a universal rule. A podiatrist who can actually look at your foot will give you better guidance than any general recommendation. The practical fix. Replace walking shoes after 500 to 700 kilometers, not based on appearance. If you're not tracking mileage every 8 to 12 months for daily walkers is a reasonable benchmark. If you develop new foot, knee, or hip pain, check your shoes before assuming the problem is your joints. The weekend warrior fallacy. Mistake 4. Walking occasionally instead of consistently. This is the mistake with the strongest evidence base in this entire video. Not nuanced, not debated. The data is clear and consistent across multiple large studies spanning decades. The pattern: someone is busy during the week, so Saturday becomes the long walk, an hour, maybe more. They feel virtuous, and in one sense they should. That's real physical activity. But from a cardiovascular adaptation standpoint, one long walk followed by 6 sedentary days is dramatically less effective than the same total time distributed across the week. Here's the mechanism. Your heart, blood vessels, and metabolic systems respond to repeated signals. Each walk tells your body physical activity is normal here. In response to that repeated message, your cardiovascular system adapts. Heart efficiency improves, insulin sensitivity increases, muscles strengthen. This is called training adaptation. It requires frequency, not just volume. WHO's 2020. Global guidelines recommend 150 to 300 minutes of moderate activity per week, distributed across multiple days. A 2019 study by Lee and colleagues in JAMA Internal Medicine, 16,000 women 7 years, found daily movement consistency was a key mortality predictor, not occasional high-volume effort. Swain and Franklin in Chest 2006 found 3 sessions of 20 minutes produced greater cardiovascular improvement than 1 session of 60 minutes. Same total volume, dramatically different results. The fix: target 20 to 30 minutes most days of the week, 5 to 6 days. If that feels like too much right now, start with 3 days of 10 to 15 minutes. Add 1 day every 2 weeks. Add 5 minutes to your sessions every 2 to 3 weeks. That progression is not weakness, it's how durable adaptation actually works. And the 2023 Amati study is worth remembering here. 11 minutes a day showed meaningful benefit. You don't need to start at 30. The stiff arm stride. Mistake 5. Not using your arms. Most people walk with their arms hanging still, pocketed, or holding a phone. It seems like a minor thing. The research suggests otherwise. A 2008 study by Brown and colleagues in the Journal of Experimental Biology directly measured energy expenditure with and without natural arm swing. Restricting arm swing increased the metabolic cost of walking by 3 to 13% depending on speed. The reason normal arm swing creates a counter-rotational relationship between the upper and lower body, right leg forward, left arm forward, that distributes spinal load symmetrically and reduces the muscular energy required to maintain balance with each step. Remove that mechanism and your legs and trunk compensate for the lost momentum. Honest limit. The claim that arm swing restriction directly causes lower back pain has biomechanical logic behind it, but direct clinical evidence specifically linking arm swing to chronic lumbar outcomes is limited. It's a reasonable hypothesis with mechanistic support not yet proven in controlled trials. What is proven: natural arm swing makes walking measurably more efficient. If you're already tired by your walks or dealing with chronic pain, reducing the energy cost by 5 to 10% matters. The fix: take your hands out of your pockets, let your elbows bend slightly and your arms swing in natural rhythm opposite to your legs. No exaggeration needed. If you're carrying something, switch hands periodically or use a backpack on both shoulders to keep the movement symmetric. The distracted walking epidemic. Mistake 6. Walking while looking at your phone. This mistake didn't exist 20 years ago. Today, based on injury surveillance data, it's one of the most significant contributors to pedestrian accidents across all age groups. Two separate problems, both real with different evidence levels. Safety evidence is strong. A 2012 study by Lamberg and Muratori in Gait and Posture measured gait in participants texting versus not texting while walking. Texting reduced walking speed by 33% and caused a 61% increase in lateral deviation from a straight path. Stride length and head position were both significantly altered. The National Safety Council documented a consistent rise in emergency room visits related to distracted walking over the past 15 years. For adults over 50, where a hip fracture carries a 1-year mortality rate of 20 to 30% according to epidemiological data, fall prevention is not a small concern. Posture evidence is moderate. Looking at a phone held at waist or mid-chest height creates a more severe neck flexion angle than simply looking at the ground. The same load mechanics we discussed in Mistake 2 apply, with the same honest caveats about static versus dynamic measurement. There's also something beyond injury risk worth mentioning. A 2019 study by Bratman and colleagues in Science Advances found that walking outdoors with attentive presence reduced activity in brain regions associated with repetitive negative thinking. You don't get that neurological benefit while scrolling. Your legs are moving, but your brain is somewhere else entirely. The fix: phone in your pocket for the entire walk. If you want audio, music, podcast, audiobook, earbuds are completely fine. Keep the screen away. Your full attention belongs to the path ahead and the world around you. The hydration and mobility misconception. Mistake 7. Ignoring recovery and the stretching myth. This is where I need to give you an honest update, because what the research actually says directly contradicts one of the most widely repeated pieces of post-exercise advice. Hydration first. Articular cartilage is approximately 65 to 80% water. Buckwalter and Mencken established this clearly. Cartilage's ability to absorb and distribute load depends on its water content. This is real. What's less well supported is the precision time pre-walk hydration advice you'll often hear: drink exactly 300 milliliters exactly 20 minutes before your walk. There's no controlled trial evidence for that specific protocol. Cartilage hydration is a function of your overall daily hydration status, not a single bolus before exercise. What is supported: drink water consistently throughout the day. Institute of Medicine reference values suggest approximately 2.7 liters daily for women and 3.7 for men, adjusted for activity and climate. One glass before your walk and one after is a sensible practical habit, but the precision timing claim goes beyond what the evidence currently supports. One genuinely important note. Research by Kenny and Chu in Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise confirmed that the thirst mechanism becomes less sensitive with age. You can be meaningfully dehydrated and feel no thirst whatsoever. Don't rely on thirst alone after 50. Build water intake into your routine as a structural habit. Now the stretching update, and this one surprises people. A 2011 Cochrane review by Herbert and colleagues, the gold standard of evidence synthesis in medicine, examined all available research on stretching and muscle soreness. Conclusion: stretching before or after exercise does not produce clinically meaningful reductions in next day's soreness. That's not a minor qualification. That's the most thorough evidence review in sports medicine, saying the primary reason most people stretch after exercise doesn't hold up. Here's the honest picture. Stretching doesn't prevent soreness, but it does maintain joint range of motion over time, and for adults over 50, hip, ankle, and thoracic spine mobility matters significantly for walking mechanics and fall prevention. Stretch after your walk not because it prevents soreness tomorrow, but because done consistently over months, it protects your mobility for years. 5 to 8 minutes. Calves, hip flexors, lower back. Hold 20 to 30 seconds each. Rest days. Your body adapts during recovery, not during exercise. The physiological improvements walking produces cardiovascular efficiency. Muscle strengthening bone density happen in the intervals between sessions, not during them. 1 to 2 rest days per week is not laziness. It's the correct protocol for sustainable long-term benefit. The 7-week walking blueprint. 7 adjustments, 1 per week. So your nervous system has time to integrate each change before you add the next. Week 1. Slow start. First 3 to 5 minutes easy pace. Let your body shift gears. Week 2. Head position. Gaze 10 to 15 feet ahead, chin parallel to the ground. Safety first on uneven terrain. Week 3. Shoes. Over a year of daily use. Consider replacing. New joint pain. Check the shoes first. Week 4. Frequency. Add 1 walking day. Don't increase duration, yet consistency of signal drives adaptation. Week 5. Arms. Hands out of pockets. Natural swing in rhythm with your stride. Week 6. Phone away. Screen in your pocket the entire walk. Earbuds for audio are fine. Week 7. Recovery. Water after every walk. 5 to 8 minutes of stretching for long-term mobility. 1 rest day per week by week 8. All 7 run simultaneously. You're not just walking more, you're walking in a way that actually delivers. Your next best walks. Walking is one of the most thoroughly researched physical activities in human health science. The evidence for its benefits, cardiovascular health, cognitive function, bone density, metabolic regulation, mood, is extensive and consistent. The goal today was to give you that evidence accurately, not amplified, not filtered through fear, just the research with honest notes on where it's strong, where it's limited, and where it's still evolving. Your body at 55 or 65 or 75 is not a broken version of your body at 30. It responds well to consistent, intelligent attention. I'd genuinely like to know where you're starting from. How long are you currently walking each week? Are you dealing with knee pain, neck tension, or fatigue that feels out of proportion to your effort? Leave it in the comments. I read every one of them. And your experience is often exactly what helps someone else who's just getting started. If this video was useful, share it with someone who walks, a parent, a friend, a partner. The people who'd benefit most from this information are often the least likely to stumble across it on their own. Next video. What the research shows about hill walking after 50, why even modest inclines may deliver cardiovascular benefits significantly beyond flat surface walking for the same time investment, and how to add it without loading your knees. Take care of yourself. Every good walk you take is a real investment in every walk that follows.